This time, I don't even have a uterus. Let's see how she plans to fake a pregnancy scandal now. After being reborn, the very first thing I do is schedule a hysterectomy. In my past life, my boyfriend's first love started a livestream channel to build her image as a brilliant OBGYN. The moment she saw me vomiting, she deliberately claimed on livestream that I was pregnant right then and there. My boyfriend insisted that he had never even slept with me. I tried to explain, but she handed me medication to help sustain the pregnancy. She even told me to take care of myself and take them on time. Viewers made fun of my boyfriend, saying I had cheated on him. Furious, he broke up with me. Later, my personal information leaked, and countless men began harassing me for hookups. I couldn't take it anymore and jumped to my death. Meanwhile, his first love rode the fame wave of her brilliant OBGYN persona, gaining followers and being idolized by her fans. But this time, I don't even have a uterus. Let's see how she plans to fake a pregnancy scandal now. I came home from the hospital completely drained. But as soon as I stepped inside, I saw my boyfriend, Gordon Reed, lounging on the couch. His brows knitted the second he saw the bags in my hands. "I told you, if your stomach hurts, just take some painkillers," he snapped. "You didn't need to buy all that at the hospital. You totally let those shady doctors scam you. Every woman gets period cramps, but you're the only one dramatic enough to skip work and go to the hospital." Gordon raised his chin smugly as he spoke. It was as if he were doing me a favor just by acknowledging me. Then he pulled his first love closer and introduced her. "This is my senior, Serena Lawson. She studied abroad and earned both her master's and PhD in one go. People call her a genius in gynecology. She heard you weren't feeling well and graciously offered to give you a quick checkup." I almost laughed out of sheer disbelief at how shameless he was. I was just about to turn them down when I noticed Gordon and Serena exchanging flirtatious glances. And that was when I realized she was live streaming. Suddenly, an idea struck me. In my past life, Serena had started a live stream channel to build a name for herself as a brilliant gynecologist. She went live every day, offering medical advice to her audience. Back then, I was dealing with persistent stomach pain. But Gordon, who was trying to boost traffic to Serena's live stream, dragged me over and made her examine me on camera. When I threw up, Serena didn't even run any tests. Instead, she announced I was pregnant. My eyes flew wide in shock. I hadn't even slept with anyone, so how could I possibly be pregnant? I was just about to speak up when Gordon cut in. He insisted we had never even been intimate and that the bastard in my belly wasn't his. Serena, on the other hand, handed me a bunch of medications to safeguard the pregnancy. Then she said, "Seriously, no matter who the father is, this child is innocent. You need to take good care of yourself." Right away, the livestream chat blew up with people mocking Gordon for getting cheated on. They even called me a shameless woman who'd sleep with anyone. In contrast, Serena was hailed as a brilliant OBGYN. People praised her for her compassion, saying she even had sympathy for a child born out of wedlock. I said I'd go to the hospital to prove I was innocent. Yet Gordon refused to listen. He claimed that I had bribed the doctors to help me cover it up. Then he dumped me. Not long after, my personal information was leaked. I was swarmed by countless men who sent me filthy messages and asked to sleep with me. Every one of my social media accounts was flooded with hate. In the end, I couldn't take it anymore. I made my way up to the roof and jumped. After my death, Serena clung to her title as a brilliant OBGYN and her patients all but worshipped her. She and Gordon played the part of the perfect team, conning countless women out of their money. So after I was reborn, the first thing I did was sever all ties with Gordon. To my surprise, he still showed up at my place with Serena in tow. He was hellbent on making her famous at my expense. I watched Serena chat enthusiastically with her livestream audience, and a cold smile crept onto my lips. She was the one who wouldn't leave me alone, so she had no one to blame when I tore her down from that pedestal. When Gordon saw me standing there frozen, he scowled and grabbed my arm. He dragged me toward Serena. "It wasn't easy convincing Serena to come over and take a look at you. Go slice up some fruit, then tell her exactly what's going on so she can examine you properly," he barked. He gazed at Serena with adoration, like a lapdog eager to please. The sight of it chilled me. Even so, I looked down. Playing the part of a well-behaved girlfriend, I went into the kitchen, brewed a pot of coffee, and brought out a plate of neatly arranged fruit. Then I held out my hand and said, "Serena, I've been having stomach pain lately. It's so bad that I break into cold sweats and can barely get through work. Can you take a look?" Serena didn't even look up or take my hand. She simply asked, "Any other symptoms besides the pain?" "I've been throwing up too. The nausea and cramps just won't stop." As soon as I finished speaking, Serena pointed at me and declared, "You're pregnant. The cramping is just the baby moving, while the vomiting is typical morning sickness. I'll write you a prescription to help stabilize the pregnancy. Make sure you get plenty of rest." Almost immediately, the livestream chat lit up with comments congratulating Gordon and me. However, when he saw the messages, his brow furrowed deeply. "I'm a traditional man," he said solemnly. "I don't believe in sleeping together before marriage." Then he turned to me. "Jolene Miller, how could you go behind my back and get pregnant with another man's child?" Gordon sounded so self-righteous, but I caught the glint of excitement in his eyes. Serena had just returned from abroad, and he was already scrambling to distance himself from me. The chat blew up again, but this time they were all condemning me. They called me shameless, just like in my past life. The insults came pouring in from every direction. At that moment, Serena frowned and took my wrist. Her voice was thick with concern as she said, "It doesn't matter who the father is. This baby is innocent. As a doctor, nothing upsets me more than a mother who refuses to take responsibility. Take the meds I prescribed and make sure you carry the child to term." She backed me into a corner with those words. First, Serena insisted I was pregnant without even examining me, and with Gordon backing her up, they concluded I was carrying another man's child. Then, right in front of the entire livestream audience, she told me I had to keep the baby and that I couldn't hurt an innocent life. To the audience, I was nothing more than a promiscuous woman. Meanwhile, Serena was a kind-hearted doctor. Even if I presented proof that I wasn't pregnant, they'd still accuse me of sneaking off for an abortion out of guilt. No matter how I tried to defend myself, no one would believe me. The viewer count kept climbing, and the livestream was gaining traction fast. Just like that, the platform featured Serena on its homepage. Once the public frenzy hit its peak, I looked up at them. Innocence was written all over my face as I asked, "Pregnant? How could I possibly be pregnant? Serena, you're a brilliant OB/GYN, aren't you? And you couldn't tell I'm still a virgin?" The livestream chat exploded as more and more people flooded in to join the drama. Some creep fixated on my thighs and typed, "She's got no thigh gap at all. Yeah, she's definitely a virgin." But the moment that comment appeared, Serena's fans came after him without mercy. One wrote, "What the hell is that supposed to mean? Are you implying that Dr. Lawson's diagnosis was wrong?" Another commented, "If you don't know anything about medicine, then shut up. Dr. Lawson's a brilliant OB/GYN. She doesn't make mistakes." The next comment read, "Come on, it's obvious she cheated on her boyfriend. Those comments defending her were probably just bots she paid for." Another person replied, "Hey, that's possible." Comments like that poured in non-stop, with dozens popping up every second. With the crowd on her side, Serena flashed a triumphant smile before saying, "Jolene, everyone makes mistakes. What matters is that you own up to them. There's no need to be so stubborn. I told you to rest for your own good, for the sake of your health and your baby. If you've got an issue with me, just say so. But don't question my skills as a doctor." She made herself sound so righteous that even the skeptics in the chat started taking her side. The chat was blowing up. By then, someone had already turned my face into a meme with the words, "I'm pregnant, but I'm just too stubborn to admit it." My phone wouldn't stop buzzing either. Friends and relatives who had seen the stream kept messaging to ask if I was really pregnant. A cold smile crept onto my lips as the chaos reached its peak. "Serena, you're confident in your medical expertise, aren't you? According to your diagnosis, I really am pregnant, correct?" A flicker of surprise crossed Serena's eyes. I spoke with calm precision and looked nothing like the flustered wreck she had expected. Still, she nodded and slipped right back into her high and mighty act. "Yes, you're pregnant. And not just by a few weeks. You're not showing because you've been deliberately controlling your weight and trying to slow the baby's development. But Jolene, as a doctor and a friend, I have to say this. The child is innocent. Please don't punish it for your mistake. Just rest and take care of yourself and the baby. That was when Gordon stepped in front of me. His gaze was icy as he said, Serena's right. The kid is innocent. I won't make a fuss about you screwing around behind my back. And I don't care who you got pregnant by. That illegitimate child has nothing to do with me. Let's just break up. His speech turned the chat into a collective sob fest. To the viewers, he was the poor guy who got cheated on but still handled it with class. Tons of women were fangirling in the comments, saying they'd love to have his babies. Once I had baited them far enough, I nodded. A beat later, I shot back, but Serena, you never even examined me. There were no tests. You kept insisting I was pregnant after several simple questions. Are you ready to take responsibility for that? Because if I'm not, then not only were you wrong, but you've also slandered me in front of everyone. I have every right to hold you legally accountable. In an instant, Gordon's face twisted with rage. He stepped in front of Serena, shielding her as he shot me a scathing glare. Even now, you won't own up to it, huh? There's no way Serena got it wrong. You're just trying to drag her name through the mud. For all we know, you could get an abortion at some clinic and then say she misdiagnosed you, Gordon spat. I didn't realize you were this twisted, Jolene. You screwed up, and now you want to take a decent doctor down with you? The way he blindly defended Serena made my blood boil. I was 1 second away from slapping them both, but I held back. Instead, I calmly reached into my tote bag, pulled out a surgical report, and held it up to the camera. Abortion? That'd be impossible, because I was never able to get pregnant. Because 3 hours ago, I had a total hysterectomy. For a beat, no one breathed. The paper in my hand felt heavier than any weapon. The hospital's logo gleamed under the ceiling light, my name, date of birth, and the very hour were all there in clean, merciless fonts, total abdominal hysterectomy completed, ovaries preserved, no uterus present. At the bottom, a QR code for verification and a hyperlink that could be checked by anyone, anywhere. The livestream chat tripped over itself, comments colliding like cars on black ice. No way, is that real? QR works. It goes straight to the hospital's portal. Why would she do that to herself? I lifted the page closer to Serena's lens and let the autofocus pull crisp. You called me pregnant without a single examination. You prescribed me medication on camera. You said the cramps were the baby moving. I smiled a little, letting the words hang. Tell me, Dr. Lawson. Where exactly is this baby supposed to be moving? Gordon jolted to his feet. His voice cracked in outrage. Fake. It's a fake report. She's lying. Jolene has been lying since. Scan it, I said softly, turning the document so the QR code filled her phone's view. Let your viewers scan and confirm. Serena hesitated, color rising under her makeup. For one sliver of a second, I saw pure calculation strafe across her face, like a shadow darting across a wall. Then she pivoted back to her camera smile. Everyone calmed down, she cooed. Television dramas condition people to think medicine is instant. Real diagnosis is complex. We mustn't let misinformation spread. Jolene is distressed. Sometimes distressed patients. Ping. 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 My phone, her phone, the room, every device chimed at once. The chat exploded with screenshots from the hospital portal. The verification page matched my report exactly, time-stamped, digitally signed by 2 attending surgeons. A nurse's electronic note included post-op vitals, pain score, recommendations against heavy lifting, and a reminder to avoid driving for 24 hours. Someone typed, "It's real. She actually had a hysterectomy. This afternoon." Another wrote, "That means the doctor diagnosed a pregnant uterus that doesn't exist." "Stop it," Gordon snapped, panic flaring like a match. Serena didn't even get a chance to. She had a chance, I said. She used it to tell a woman without a uterus to protect a baby and take prenatal meds. Serena's jaw clenched. The nausea and cramps you described are classic. The nausea, I agreed, and pulled the small brown bottle from the coffee table where she'd placed it theatrically, label facing the camera like a sponsor's product. My fingers traced the sticker, A telehealth dispensary Serena frequently promoted, her affiliate code tucked beneath the barcode. You mean from this? A compounded capsule with progesterone and doxylamine, with my name printed on a label you generated today at 14:17? Only you generated it before you asked me a single medical question. I tilted the bottle. The capsules shushed like beads in a maraca. I hate to break it to you, but you committed 2 crimes in one gesture, issuing a prescription to a patient you never examined, and doing it live to manufacture a narrative. It's a shame you used my real legal name on the label, though. Makes it easy to prove. Her eyes flicked to the bottle, then to the chat count ballooning toward 6 figures. I offered support, she said quickly. We're dealing with a deeply troubled woman who is weaponizing paperwork to attack a physician. I have been harassed for years online. And yet you picked my living room, I said, my body, and my pain to harvest attention again. I turned to the camera fully. My voice steadied, chilled. To every young woman watching, there are doctors who will gaslight your symptoms for views. There are boyfriends who will drag you in front of cameras to make themselves martyrs. I let them do it once. It took my life. It's not happening again. The doorbell rang. Serena flinched. Gordon took a step toward the hallway, then stopped when he saw the men and women in dark windbreakers filling my doorway, calm as rain. 2 wore the discreet badges of the State Medical Board. 1 carried a thick envelope. Another held a tablet and stylus, already open to an e-consent screen. Jolene Miller? The lead investigator asked, voice mild. Ms. Miller, per your complaint this morning and the evidence you provided regarding unlicensed telepractice and fraudulent prescriptions, we're here to collect the physical items and confirm identification. Ms. Lawson, we'll need to see your medical license and your telehealth authorization for this jurisdiction. Mr. Reed, we'll need your device. You've been streaming a medical act without patient consent. That's a separate violation. Gordon scoffed, relief streaming into his face like sunlight. Finally. Officers. She forged paperwork to ruin Serena. She's hysterical. Look at her. She's making up crazy stories. The investigator blinked slowly. We're not law enforcement, Mr. Reed. We regulate medical practice. He turned to Serena kindly, as if offering her an out. Doctor? Serena's smile curdled. This is harassment. I'm licensed. I'm. In 3 states, the woman with the tablet said gently, tapping her screen. Not in this one. Also, your telehealth authorization requires a documented physician-patient relationship and the patient's written consent for live-streamed consultations. We checked your channel archive. This is not your first unsanctioned broadcast. Turn off the camera, Gordon barked, his composure ripping at the seams. Serena, cut the live. Cut it now. I folded my arms. Don't. Let it run. Let your fans see you do medicine. He rounded on me, finger stabbing at the air. You orchestrated this, you snake. You had surgery just to make a point? You're sick. You've always been sick. Ever since. Ever since you discovered attention, I said. Remember what you texted me the day she hit 100,000 followers? We can flip this. If you cry on her stream and I act noble, she'll trend all week. You typed that, Gordon. Not me. I held his gaze as heat rose up my throat, the memory of asphalt wind and rushing air ghosting my skin. The roof rail. The last helpless swallow. I blinked it away. Not this life. Not this ending. Serena's phone chimed again. She glanced down, and the camera tilted just enough that the audience caught a half-second of her notifications. A heart, a calendar reminder. Prenatal vitamins, 8:30 p.m. The chat seized it like wolves scenting blood. Prenatal. Vitamins? For who? Is she the one who's pregnant? Wait, the wristband. Someone posted a clip. Look, the hospital selfie from last week. Same wristband, S. Lawson, obstetrics wing. She blurred it, but you can still read. Serena went paperwhite. Gordon saw the comments and tried to stand taller, to loom. Leave her alone. She's a public figure. You vultures twist everything. Serena's vitamins are for her iron. She donates blood. Often. Pregnant women can't donate blood, I said. He swung back to me. Shut up. Why? I asked sweetly. Does it sting when the script flips? When the saint becomes human? Or when your traditional values meet a sonogram? Serena made a sound, thin, broken glass across tile. Jolene, don't. She wasn't looking at me. She was looking at her phone, at a photo I knew she kept buried in a folder named Notes. An ultrasound's grayscale wobble. A crown rump length measurement. 8 weeks and 3 days. Estimated due date circled in violet with a little star. Congratulations, I said softly, not to mock, not even to wound, but to pry truth from the concrete they'd poured. You deserve to tell your audience in your own time. But you don't get to build your motherhood by smearing strangers as liars. You don't get to prescribe medication to a post-op patient to stage your reveal. And you don't get to weaponize my body to baptize your brand. Stop talking like you're a saint, Gordon snarled. You think surgery gives you the moral high ground? You're barren now. No man will. Careful, I said, and the room seemed to inhale. This is your last sentence as my boyfriend. Choose it well. His mouth flapped like a dying fish, searching for the old script, for the lines where he was victim and I was hysterical and Serena was flawless. He found none. Whatever he might have said crumbled when the investigator cleared his throat. Ms. Lawson, the investigator said, I need the medication bottle and any paper prescriptions you've issued today. We'll also need to review your stream archive. Removing it now will be considered destruction of potential evidence. Her fingers shook as she reached. I was faster. I set the bottle into a clear evidence bag and handed it over, then slid the printed prescription, already tucked under the fruit platter like a magician's chosen card, into another bag. The investigator labeled both with quiet competence, dates and codes marching in tidy rows. The calm of it steadied me. You did this to yourself, Gordon hissed at me, last ditch, last life venom. You always do. You push people until they break. That's why. Enough, I said. For 3 years, I had practiced this word only in my head. This time, it came out a bell. It rang through me, through the stupid fruit platter, through Serena's $1 million poise, through Gordon's cheap righteousness. It rang through the chat, where 1,000 strangers realized at once that compassion required listening to the quiet person, not the loud one. I turned to the camera again. Viewers, I said, you don't know me. You don't owe me anything. But you owe yourselves the courage to ask why a doctor would tell a woman without a uterus to protect her baby. You owe yourselves the discipline to verify before you vilify. And to the young nurses and med students who watch Serena to learn, good medicine starts with humility. If you learn anything from tonight, let it be that. Silence swept the room. Then, like a fuse hissing toward a mine, the numbers on Serena's screen began to drop. Tens of thousands. Then thousands. Then a jitter in the super chats as sponsors withdrew pledges midstream. The platform flag blinked, content under review. A moderator's automated note slurred across the chat, stream limited due to potential medical misinformation. Viewers may experience restricted features. Gordon lunged to grab the phone. The investigator intercepted him, unruffled. Don't, he said. Gordon bared his teeth. You don't get to. I do, came another voice from the hall. My landlord? No. My neighbor, Mrs. Carmichael, the calm widow with the rosebush hands, stepped inside with our building manager right behind her. Mr. Reed, she said pleasantly, Ms. Miller left a key with me for emergencies. You don't live here. Management has asked you to leave. Right away, please. Gordon laughed, but it cracked. You can't throw me out. My name's on the... It isn't, I said, handing him an envelope fat with printed screenshots and lease amendments. Not anymore. I removed you last month after you accidentally streamed my bathroom during your prank video. Remember? The one where Serena's fans sent me diagrams of what they do to my mouth. I remember. He stared at the paperwork like it was a foreign alphabet. Panic widened his pupils. He looked to Serena for rescue the way he always had, as if she were a rope thrown down a well. This time, she didn't lower it. She was staring at her hands, at the faint tremor in her fingers, at the ghost of a smile that used to bring her crowds and now brought a wave poised to swallow her whole. Go, she whispered. Gordon blinked. What? Go, she said again, louder, and something in her voice scraped raw. I'm not losing my license because you wanted a show. I'm not losing. Your license? He snapped, wounded pride combusting. Your license? You're nothing without me. Who built your channel? Who bought the cameras? Who hustled the sponsors? You fix vaginas, I fix everything else. It was a cruel sentence, too cruel for even his usual swagger. The chat, still limping along under moderation, hissed as if it had teeth. Serena raised her head slowly. There, in the precise geometry of her face, the first true honesty of the night lodged like a thorn. I am pregnant, she said, almost to herself, and an ache threaded through the words. And I am tired. And I have been pretending to be untouchable for so long that I forgot how to be a person. I did wrong tonight. I told a lie because I needed the narrative to be neat. I'm sorry. The investigator's pen paused. He glanced up, surprised. Not exonerating. Not condemning. Surprised. I didn't applaud her. Regret was not absolution. But I allowed my shoulders to loosen an inch. Then stop, I said. Stop curating other women's pain into your triumph. Stop calling cruelty a clinic. Stop making morality out of pretense. Her gaze flicked to my belly, flat beneath my cotton tee, to the line of stitches hidden under gauze, to the bruise where the fourth had nestled. Why? Did you really do it? She asked, voice softer than anything she'd said all night. The surgery. You could have waited to prove a point in some other way. I didn't do it to prove a point, I said. The truth moved in me like a tide. In my last life, I bled and vomited and cried into a pillow while strangers told me who I was. I took pills a doctor threw at me from a pedestal and waited for a body that didn't carry a child to miscarry a child I never had. In the end, I gave them the spectacle they wanted. I won't give it again. I chose a future where my body isn't raw material for anyone else's brand. That's all. Something in the room settled, like dust after a slammed door. Mrs. Carmichael slipped her arm through mine. Tea, she murmured. You need tea. She guided me to the chair and pressed a warm mug into my palms. I had brewed the coffee for the performance, she brewed tea for the person. The investigators did their work with quiet hands. They took photos of the prescription, of the label with my full name, of the camera's red light. They asked Serena to step aside and review policies about telehealth advisories and disclosures. They asked for the raw stream. They took notes. They weren't the Salvation in a movie, the ones who storm in with sirens and definitive justice, but they were the real kind. The kind that makes paper trails and ends careers slowly, surely, permanently. Gordon tried twice more to lunge at a device. Both times the building manager blocked him with a look he used on tenants who thought rent was optional. The third time, Gordon changed tactics. He sank to his knees, tears pricking his eyes with an actor's precision. Jolene, he said hoarsely. We were good once. Remember? Before the internet. Before all this. I was stupid. I was jealous. But I can fix it. We can sue the hospital for doing this to you without counseling. We can rebuild together. You know I always come back to you. Don't, I said. I'm on my knees, he whispered, reaching for the familiar chord, the one that hummed in me when I was 22 and willing to be a stage for his vows. Doesn't that mean anything? It means you learned new choreography, I said. It doesn't mean you learned remorse. He trembled, then surged to his feet as if I had yanked a puppet string. Fine, he spat. Rot alone, then. He stalked to the door. The building manager held it open with a small, satisfied flourish. Mrs. Carmichael, who cultivated roses the way some people cultivated regrets, cleared her throat delicately. I'll have maintenance change the lock tonight, dear. Thank you, I said. Gordon paused on the threshold. He turned once, the rage in his eyes cooling to calculation. He pointed at Serena, already surrounded by regulators and digital forms. You, he said, call me when this blows over. This won't blow over, she said without looking up. He left. The investigator finished bagging the last piece of evidence. Ms. Miller, he said, kind but formal, we'll be in touch. There will be hearings. You may be called to testify. You may also receive online retaliation. Please document everything and consider a temporary privacy lock on your accounts. I nodded. I have a plan for that. After they were gone, After the building manager left and Mrs. Carmichael retreated to fetch me soup from her stove, after Serena sat alone on my couch with her phone face down and her hands open, empty, the apartment breathed a long, shaky breath. "It doesn't fix what I did," Serena said at last, voice small, "but I will issue a correction video tonight. I will say the words. I misdiagnosed. I prescribed without examination. I put a patient at risk. I will accept the board's decision. I will refund every telehealth consult in the last year. I will remove my affiliate links. And I will tell them about the person you were before. All this? The quiet you. The one who didn't deserve a stadium of strangers hating her." I looked at her. Really looked. Beneath the contouring and the light and the precision lay a person who had built a fortress from adoration because she had never been allowed to be ordinary. A person who believed that being ordinary meant being erased. "It's not my forgiveness you need," I said. "It's your own." She flinched as if I'd struck her. "That's the hardest kind." "I know." She picked up her phone like it might explode. "I'll do it," she said. "No edits. No PR. Just the truth." "Do better," I said. "For the women who are like me. For the ones who will be like me if you don't change." She nodded. She stood. She looked at the fruit platter as if it might offer penance. "Goodbye, Jolene. Goodbye, Serena." After she left, night spread its cool hand against the windows. The city hummed, same as ever, indifferent and alive. My phone vibrated on the table. Hundreds of messages. Thousands. Some apologies, quiet and shaky. Some declarations from women who had been told by white coats and smooth voices that their bodies lied. Some stories that were really confessions and some confessions that were really prayers. I muted them all. I texted HR to say I'd take my 2 sick days and fill the forms in the morning. I set the kettle to boil again. The apartment was finally, blessedly ordinary. The couch was just a couch. My breath was just breath. Then I opened my laptop and wrote a letter. Not to the platform. Not to the board. To the girls I used to be and the women I might have been. I told them my body was not a battlefield. I told them that a diagnosis could be a kindness and a scalpel could be a mercy and that no one gets to name them except themselves. I told them that the shape of a life could be made from absence as well as presence, that motherhood was a path but not the only one, that womanhood did not live in an organ-jarring pathology. I told them that I did not cut myself because I was broken, but because I chose a different kind of hole. When I finished, it was almost midnight. The scar tugged when I stood. I moved slowly to the window and leaned my forehead to the cool glass. In the reflection, my face was pale and new. A soft knock. I turned, expecting Mrs. Carmichael with soup. Instead, a courier stood in the hall, cap in hand, holding a flat parcel. "For Miss Miller," he said. "From legal." It was the envelope the investigator had mentioned, a copy of my statement and forms to sign. But taped to the front was another smaller envelope I hadn't expected. No return address. Inside, a photo. Grainy. Old. Me and Gordon at 21 in our first apartment, eating takeout on a box, laughter washing everything in gold. On the back, a note in a tidy, unfamiliar scrawl. "You don't know me. I was in Serena's med school cohort. I saw what he did to you last time. I saw how she let him. I said nothing because I told myself it wasn't my place. That silence fed them. I am sorry. I will testify. A." I pressed my lips together. I didn't cry. I didn't forgive. But I let the note be what it was, proof that in another person's private tally, cowardice had finally been outbid by courage. My phone buzzed again. A new notification, from the platform itself this time. "Your name has been added as a protected individual. We have restricted live mentions pending review." I exhaled. It wasn't justice, but it was friction. Sometimes friction is the first kindness. When sleep came, it came without the city, without the ledge, without the fall. It came like a dark field and I lay down in it and, for the first time in 2 lives, did not dream of begging a camera to believe me. Morning came with pale milk light. My phone hummed. A text from an unknown number. The tone was plain. The words were careful. "Ms. Miller, this is Serena. The correction video is up. I removed every monetization link. I disabled my super chat. I refunded the last year of consults. I understand if you don't want to watch, but I thought you should know I said your name. I said I was wrong. I told them you were brave. Also, I called my OB and booked a real appointment. For me. With paperwork and consent and no cameras. I stared at the words until they steadied into meaning. I set the phone down. I made toast. I watered the philodendron I'd kept alive through 3 winters with the same stubbornness I now used on myself. I pulled on soft pants and a hoodie and padded into the living room, where the fruit platter from last night sat like a stage prop no one had bothered to strike. I picked up a strawberry, red as a stop sign, sweet as a truce. I ate it over the sink. I laughed, quiet, incredulous, at how ordinary the day could be after a storm that loud. Then I opened my laptop and, for me and only me, began to write a different story. Not the rehash of my death. Not the careful account of my surgery. A story about a woman who didn't know the world a baby to be complete. A story about a doctor who learned that healing starts with apology. A story about an audience that remembered, for a moment, how to listen. Before I clicked save, I paused, hearing again the sentence where I'd cut off last night, where the old script wanted me to end with a wound I was never able to get. I typed, slowly, letting each letter seed into the new shape of my life. I was never able to get back the woman I was before. So I stopped trying, and I became someone better. Hours later, when my phone buzzed with an email titled Notice of Hearing, I didn't flinch. When my messages stacked with offers from networks and podcasts, I archived them. When a DM arrived from a quiet account named A, asking if I would speak to med students next month about consent and dignity, I replied yes. The unexpected twist wasn't Serena's fall or Gordon's exit or even my report. It wasn't that the internet, ravenous one night, could be gentle the next. It was smaller. It was mine. The twist was that I didn't need any of them to witness my ending for it to be real. Later that week, on a bench outside the hospital where a nurse had given me a blanket and a smile and a post-op ginger ale, I watched a mother cross the courtyard with her toddler. The child's laugh skittered across the paving stones, high and bright. A month ago, the sound would have tugged something fierce and raw inside me. Now it simply was what it was, a sound in the world that was beautiful and not owed to me. My scar itched. I pressed my palm to it through my shirt, the way you touch a page you've written on just to feel the groove of the words. I didn't need to prove anything to a lens. I didn't need to win a courtroom in the comments. I had done the bravest thing I knew. I had ended a story in time to begin my life.